We tried to Jenga board it for you there.
There you go. Okay, guys. Injury-wise, Rob Havenstein will be out for the game, as will Neville Gallimore and Charles Woods as well.
Who's going to start at center for you guys?
We're working through that stuff.
What about right tackle?
Same thing.
Do you expect Joe to be able to play?
He's doubtful for the game.
Respectfully, working through it this late in the week, is there maybe an element of gamesmanship to that?
There is. Yeah. No, we know. I'll just let you guys see when we go out there on Sunday. So don't mean it to be irritating. It's just no reason to say it, but our guys know.
I'm sorry. So is Joe doubtful?
Joe's doubtful for the game, yes.
Right. So, I mean, how do you feel going into this after 3-game win streak?
Yep.
A loss that wasn't, not that any losses are good, but the
Sure.
way you guys played was not up.
It was uncharacteristic, and I think, you talk about, you say, hey, I think we're a lot closer to that team that had won the 3 games. Can't allow, 1 3-hour window, and in some instances there were some positives, from the defense and different things like that, and special teams, and a lot of good learning opportunities from an offensive perspective. So I like the way that the guys have come back. If there's anything that I do know about this football team, Gary, there's a resilience, there's a grit, there's a mental toughness, there's an ability to respond. And I think they've had a good week, and I'm looking forward to capping it off the right way today. It's a great challenge going into Foxborough. They've got some good positive momentum going, but I expect our guys to be ready to go and play well.
Sean, if I remember correctly, you had mentioned that it was going to be around this time of the season that you evaluate where Tyler Higbee's at and potential window for his return. Where is he at right
I think he's a couple weeks away. He looks great. He's out here doing his thing. He's leading in his own way. He's got such a great way about himself, Stu, but I would say a couple weeks away for him.
John Johnston?
Probably the same thing. We'll reevaluate him. He is making good progress. He was able to do some different contact things and not have any sort of restriction, and then a lot of the scans will give us an indicator, all right, where is that at, and is that something that we would explore?
Zach Robinson in Atlanta, when you had him here, what stood out to you about him as a coach, and is there anything that made you think he's ready to be an offensive coordinator?
He's just steady. I think he had a really steady, calm demeanor. Played the position, especially I think it's so important, especially when you transition into those roles, the rapport relationship, the understanding of the quarterback position. He got an opportunity to call plays in different, practice settings, different games. He's always had such a good feel. We gave him a lot of responsibility, but he always looked at it where guys have certain roles and responsibilities, but they're also want to prepare themselves for whenever that next opportunity arises. And Raheem, had kind of identified him as a guy that he knew was very capable, and it's fun. I love seeing what a great job he's done and hearing about it and then keeping in touch with him. And there's a lot of guys like that have been here, but I would say the steadiness, just the calm demeanor, I think that rubs off on those guys, and they played really well offensively, and I think he's done an awesome job.
And then you have Thomas Brown, play caller in Chicago now. It seemed like he's had a couple opportunities come up. Was it hard to keep him here?
Yeah, he did such a good job here. He had such a, you guys met Thomas, so just the command, his charisma, just his natural presence, his ability to connect with guys. He was assistant head coach here, so he had a bunch of head coaching opportunities, then coordinator opportunities, and then he blew Frank Reich away when he went to Carolina. And now here he is in Chicago. And I know that's a unique situation. I thought he handled a unique situation really well, with gratitude and gratefulness to Shane. And we all know, what a good coach Shane is too. Sometimes there's some tough circumstances that arise, and some you can control, and in a lot of instances, some you can't. But, I wish Thomas the best. And, I thought he handled himself well in a unique circumstance the other day.
In 21, what made you decide to give him that?
I think just, I think it's really important that you have somebody that, in a lot of instances you implement, opportunities for them to have leadership things come about, whether that's dialogue with the players, a good just feel for things that maybe are outside of my scope, give them opportunities to address the team or the rookies, just opportunities that I was afforded when I was younger. And I think, the important thing, one of the coolest things, Raheem and I used to talk about this, and I've talked about it with coaches, is you want to make sure that we're always improving and impacting and being a developmental staff, not exclusive to players, but also, myself and everybody else. And so the more opportunities and exposures that you can present guys that is good for our football team and for that individual, the better.
Matthew's mentioned a couple of times over the past few years years that sometimes when you guys play defenses, they'll try to throw something at them that is certainly not what you've seen on tape from them and their tendencies that they've previously put on tape. Two-part question, but how often would you say that comes up?
Yeah, I think pretty frequently when you've got a quarterback that is so well respected in terms of his preparation, his understanding. So I think that's a credit. I think that's a compliment to him. It comes up very frequently, and then sometimes more often than not, situationally or things of that nature. But I know this, when you've been in positions, and I think the respect that he's garnered over the course of his career dictates that. But whether you're a great player, or whether you're doing a really good job from an offensive perspective, usually you don't get, what you're seeing because you elicit different responses. And I think that's a reflection of the respect that people have for Matthew.
And the follow-up to that is, when that does come up, how important has it been previously and in getting back to maybe in the future to be able to lean on an assertion of a run game?
Oh man, it's big. That's, there's you've heard me say it before, Jordan. Any good offense has the ability to do both. This is an 11-on-11 game. You're always trying to attack certain things as they are trying to stop, or vice versa. And if you commit to one thing and you don't have the ability to make them pay for where there's leverages, angles, or numbers that you can create, you're going to make it hard on yourself. And that is why it is so important to be a fully functional offense. The most complete offenses that we've ever had here, that you've seen and that I've been a part of, had the ability to do both. And that's something that we're always striving to do, and that's obviously been an area of inconsistency for us this year.
What is the push and pull mentally, not just for you as the play caller, but also for the entire collective, when they're trying to stop you in that phase so that they can challenge Matthew and the receivers, and the push and pull of saying, okay, well, we're just going to do it anyway, because of the group that you guys have invested in up front to try to impose your will, essentially? Well,
I think there's a lot of instances where we haven't had, the continuity piece has not really been applicable. So I think you're continuously saying, okay, you might have had a vision for what that identity was, and now you're continuously trying to find it. And even for us last year, you look at it, it was an evolving thing. No year is ever the same. I think it's important to be able to say, all right, what is that weekly rhythm that you want to establish, and then can you build off of that based on the momentum that's been seen? There's been instances that I can reflect on where that has occurred. I think our defense is a good example of that. But you guys look at it, we go through these injuries, and I feel bad for these guys, but there is a Rolodex of different moving parts that we've got to be able to work through. And I'm hopeful that we can start to find some continuity. All we've got is this game, and then we're guaranteed 8 more shots at this. And so want to be able to start to establish that. And if we can stay healthy, if we can have some of the same guys doing the same things, working a rapport with one another, and then being able to establish the things that you're asking about, I think that can be reflected because repetition is the mother of learning. I think that's where real improvement occurs, and I've seen it, but you don't ever minimize the importance of guys being able to work together, and that's been a real factor that you have to acknowledge, while knowing that, hey, this is something that you have to be able to work through. It's not an excuse, but balancing, all right, how do we put these guys in the best spots and get them up to speed as quickly as possible?
Sean, is it more difficult for the younger players to sort of work through some of the things that the veterans are more used to?
Yeah, I would say this, Maria. I think, there's so many good things that you'll take from this year and you'll apply it moving forward about setting foundations and making sure that there's all types of contingency plans in place. And you try to be able to do that, but you say, man, all right, well, this arises, and maybe you haven't had this sort of thing come up. So if they have a foundation, there's a little bit easier thing that you can work from, but that hasn't even really been able to be established for us. But whether you're young, veteran, it's about setting that foundation and then hopefully being able to build from there. And I've seen it done before, and you'd prefer to be able to have that taken care of as the season builds. But if you got to be able to do that sometimes in season, there can be real things that real beneficial things that come about from it, and there's been examples of when that's occurred for us.
Gonzalez has been a guy who's really stepped up this year and made his presence felt. Is he, based on what you've seen on tape, is he someone that you kind of have to know where he is on the field at all times and game plan around?
Oh, the way they use him, I mean, you could see he's got great, lateral quickness, great competitiveness at the catch point, can catch the ball if he gets his opportunities. You could see why when they drafted him, he was so highly regarded, and he's only gotten better and better, and you see the competitiveness show up all over the tape and the versatility.
Jimmy hasn't played for you guys, but what has he provided for you as like a veteran
Yeah.
guy in practice and just knowing he's available?
Just the consistency, he's got such a great, daily demeanor. He loves football. He's got a great way about interacting with his teammates. Even as he's leading the scout team, I think he gives us a phenomenal look where he really challenges our D. I think he's been a key factor in a lot of the improvement, where he's really pushing them and making throws that not a lot of people in the world can make in the timing and rhythm that he's able to do that in some of the spots. But even just the encouragement, he's just got a good way about himself. I appreciate, the work that he puts in behind the scenes with Dave Ragone, that he'll be ready to go, God forbid, if something were to happen to Matthew. But he's also allowing himself to get better in the absence of some of these game reps because of the way that he approaches practice on a weekly basis.
Just as a quick follow-up to JJ Higbee, when you're saying they're 2 weeks away, is that just a situation where they'll be back at practice and you'll make a determination about their game ability at that point based on how they feel?
Yeah, you'd start that, if you do that, with JJ, you've got him and you've got, Troy Reader or guys where you got that one spot available. Higbee wouldn't count towards that. But I think what you do is you take it a week at a time. I would say that Higbee's a couple weeks away. JJ could be on a week-to-week thing, as is, Troy Reader.
Coach, when it comes to the special teams, how will you evaluate the special teams right now?
I think they're doing a good job. I think there's improvement. I thought last week was a real positive for our kicking unit, especially, as it relates to our field goal operation. We have offsides. Otherwise, it's a 6-for-6 game for Josh Carty. We asked him to attempt a lot of long field goals. I thought he hit it true. I like just his demeanor, so I was really encouraged with that. I think there can be some improvements in the return area. There's been some positives that affected games in a positive way, but I like the way that they're trending. Okay? Thanks, guys.
Thanks.